All right, today we're tackling something a little different. Crash STM 300 and 150. These are two really unique trading instruments you'll find on the Olymp trade platform. And the cool thing, they're available to trade 24/7, totally separate from the usual market hours. So to get a handle on this, we've put together a kind of 5-part playbook for you. First, we're going to cover the basics. What are these things? Then we'll get into how they work, the mechanics. After that, we'll look at how people actually trade them, how you analyze them. And of course, the super important stuff, how you manage your risk. We'll wrap things up by going over the most common mistakes people make, so you can hopefully avoid them. Okay, first things first. Before we even think about trading these, we gotta know what they are. And, the answer might actually surprise you, because these aren't your typical markets. So they're called synthetic indices. And what that really means is they're not tied to anything in the real world. You're not trading Apple stock or the price of gold here. Instead, these are totally unique instruments created right on the platform. Their price moves are generated by a special algorithm, basically a secure math formula that's designed to act like a real market. The big thing to remember is that it's a completely closed-off system. It's its own little universe. Okay, now this is where things get really interesting, because this chart breaks down the key difference between the two. See the numbers in the name, 300 and 150? Well, that tells you pretty much everything you need to know. That number is the average number of small price movements, or ticks, that happen before you get a crash. So with Crash 150, you're getting a crash on average twice as often as with Crash 300. That makes it way more fast-paced and volatile. It's really built for more advanced traders, especially scalpers who are looking to jump in and out for quick, small profits. All right, so we know what they are. Now let's get into the mechanics of how they actually behave on a chart. This is where their really unique personality starts to come out. The whole thing basically boils down to a cycle of two distinct phases. First, you've got this slow, steady climb upwards. Just a lot of small, little upward movements. They call that the upward drift. And then, bam! Out of nowhere, you get the crash event, a super sudden, sharp spike downwards. And really, the entire game here is about navigating that rhythm between the slow climb and that sudden, inevitable drop. Now, actually finding these on the platform is super easy. As you can see, you just log in, head over to the forex section, and search for them. You set your amount, your multiplier, and your direction. But here's the thing. While placing the trade is simple, it's the strategy behind it that makes all the difference. So let's get into that right now.
Which leads us to a really important question, right? If this whole market is just an algorithm, and there's no economic news or company reports moving the price, how in the world do you even analyze it?
Well, the answer is it's all about technical analysis, purely. Remember how we said it's a closed system? That means you can throw out any thoughts about company earnings or big global news events. None of that matters here. Instead, traders are focused only on the patterns and the probabilities that the algorithm itself is creating. You're not trying to analyze the real world. You're trying to analyze the code's behavior. So the most common approach, and definitely the one most people start with, is to just trade with that natural upward drift. The idea is simple. You open a buy trade while the price is slowly climbing, you try to scoop up some of those small, steady profits, and then, and this is the crucial part, you get out before the next crash hits. And then you've got the flip side of the coin, trying to catch the crash. This is a much higher risk strategy. You're basically trying to predict when that crash is going to happen and open a sell position to profit from that big sudden drop. Now, as you can probably guess, this takes incredibly precise timing. It's a high-risk, high-reward kind of play. One little technical detail here, though, which is kind of interesting, is that sell trades don't have the same risk of slippage as buy trades do. And we're going to talk a lot more about what that means in a bit. And look, the sources are crystal clear on this one. Trying to time the crash is not for beginners. It's not for the faint of heart. You really need to have a deep feel for the rhythm of these indices, and you absolutely should not even think about trying it with real money until you've practiced a ton on a demo account. And that brings us to, honestly, the most critical part of this entire playbook. Seriously. In a market that is literally defined by sudden crashes, managing your risk isn't just a good idea. It's everything. It's what will decide whether you sink or swim. Rule number 1. The absolute foundation of your defense. Position sizing. The sources all agree on this. You should never ever risk more than 1 to 2% of your entire account on a single trade. Think of this as your number one shield against a devastating loss. Okay, now listen up because this next part is absolutely vital. Your main safety net in most other markets, the good old stop-loss order, well, it doesn't quite work the same way here. And if you don't understand why, you could be in for a very nasty surprise. And here's why. During one of those crash events, the price drops so fast and so hard that it can literally leap right over your stop-loss price. The system just doesn't have time to execute your order at the level you set. This is called slippage. It's like trying to jump off a bullet train at an exact spot on the platform. The train might just blow right past it before you can get off. So your trade will eventually close, yeah, but it could be at a much worse price, meaning your loss is way bigger than you ever planned for. Next up, let's talk about leverage, or what Olymp Trade calls a multiplier. Now, this is a tool that lets you control a big position with just a small amount of your own money. It's powerful because it magnifies your potential profits. But, and this is a huge but, it also magnifies your potential losses. The recommendation from the sources is really strong on this. If you're a beginner, stick to the lower end, like 50x to maybe 100x. Seriously, jumping into high leverage before you really get the feel for these markets is one of the quickest ways to blow up your account. Okay, let's finish up by talking about the big pitfalls, the most common and expensive mistakes that people make when they first start trading these things. Mistake number one is a big one: emotional trading. I mean, think about it. The super fast pace, the constant threat of a crash, it's a perfect storm for making bad decisions. You get hit by a crash and you immediately jump back in to try and win it back. That's revenge trading. Or you're in a winning trade and you get greedy, thinking just one more tick. These are classic emotional traps. And trading based on fear or greed instead of a solid plan, it's just a recipe for disaster. And this quote right here just nails it. It comes from an experienced trader who said, "This crash 300 is really addictive." And that really gets to the heart of it. The psychological pull is real. There's always something happening, and that constant action can make it incredibly hard to stay disciplined and stick to your plan. So what's the solution? How do you fight that? It all comes down to ironclad discipline. And I'm not just saying that's a good idea, it is an absolute requirement. This means you need a rock-solid plan before you even open a trade. It means you keep a trading journal so you can actually learn from what you're doing. It means having the strength to just walk away after 2 or 3 losses in a row. And it means never, ever trading when you're stressed, tired, or angry. And, that really is the main takeaway from this whole thing. Your goal here isn't to be a psychic who can predict every single crash. That's impossible. No one can do that. Your real job is to be a disciplined risk manager, someone who can handle the wild swings, survive them, and stay in the game long enough to find profits. So we'll leave you with this final thought that kept coming up in the research. More than any fancy strategy or complicated indicator, success in these markets seems to boil down to one simple trait: patience. The patience to wait for the right moment, the patience to stick to your rules even when it's tempting not to, and the patience to manage your risk on every single trade. So the real question you have to ask yourself is, do you have it?